everyone. Thank you for attending this presentation on Social Media 101 and on target marketing strategies for libraries. My name is Katie Kataska. I'm the current chair of the Professional Development Committee of NJLA. Our presenter today is Jasmine Riel, who I've known since our participation in NJLA's Emerging Leader Program in 2021. I can't believe it's been this long. Since then, it feels like yesterday. Uh, and please note, obviously, this presentation is being recorded for YouTube, and a survey will be going out to all participants next week to determine future programming. So if you could fill that out, I would really appreciate it. And also, please include any questions you have for Jasmine in the chat during this presentation and remain muted as we will be taking questions afterwards. Thanks so much for your cooperation. And before I officially introduce Jasmine, I would like to thank the Public Relations Committee and Katie White, the Associate Director of NJLA, for their assistance with this program. Okay, now on to introducing our presenter. So Jasmine Rio has worked at the Cherry Hill Public Library since 2015 as a library assistant, adult services librarian, and now teen librarian. Finally, the full trifecta. She manages all the social media and marketing materials for CHPL, Teen Services Department. And she was a recipient of the NJLA Rising Star Award in 2022. She reviews young adult literature for Kirkus Reviews, and outside of the library world, she is a vocalist for the Catholic Diocese of Camden. A very varied career, I see.
Yes, whenever I'm not at the library, I'm usually at a church somewhere in South Jersey singing, and then or I'm in the library, and then people are like, "Are you that lady who sings at the church in Collingswood?" I'm like, "Probably," but I'm kind of all over the place. Hopefully, my personality kind of shows how much I enjoy doing marketing and social media because it's all about being present and open to communication. But yeah, I'm a big fan of using social media for the library and all the different marketing approaches that we have to improve our connection with the public, especially for people who can't come to the library all the time. So thank you so much, Katie, for that introduction, and thank you to the Professional Development Committee for inviting me to be a part of this presentation. I mentioned before we started, that this program has gone through a couple different changes, and I was originally supposed to present this with my colleague, Suzanne, who was our marketing and PR coordinator, but she recently got a new job. So as happy as I am for her, I don't have all the expertise that she has as a marketing specialist, but she has been a mentor for me over the years that we've worked together, and we've worked together a lot in the time that she was here, and I was able to pick her brain a little bit before she left. So I am happy to offer some of the tips and tricks that she was going to talk about before she decided to abandon me. But yes, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you to all of you who are here today. Let me share my screen. It has been a hot second since I have presented on Zoom, so forgive me. Thank you in advance for your kindness, but I'm going to do my best. So yes, this is our presentation today, Social Media 101 and Alternative Marketing Strategies for Libraries. Everything that I'm kind of talking about today comes from personal experience at the library. So I'm hoping that what I'm sharing with you today will give you some useful insights and hopefully practical ideas that you can use in your own libraries. Or if you're already doing some of the things that I'm sharing today, hopefully I can provide some tips or tricks to improve those practices as well. But this is kind of everything I'm hoping to cover in 45 minutes or less. Now that we're about 8 minutes into our webinar, I respect everyone's time, but I also want to make sure you get the best that you can out of this presentation today. So our marketing team at the Cherry Hill Library is really spearheaded by our PR and marketing coordinator. Our marketing coordinator is at least in the time that I've been here, that position has been filled by a marketing specialist, so not necessarily a librarian. And so the staff really relied heavily on this person's expertise in marketing, but they also gave other library staff many opportunities to learn and be creative with our marketing skills. So all of the staff really does play a part in promoting library services. The PR and marketing coordinator at the Cherry Hill Library manages and oversees all promotional materials, email campaigns, and social media accounts for CHPL. They respond to public comments and messages online. They contribute content to our website, and they also partner with the township to promote the library in the Cherry Hill community. And this does include connecting with local news stations and publications and much, much more. Suzanne did quite a lot for the library in terms of getting us connected to the Cherry Hill community beyond our walls. As the teen librarian, I do some of what our PR coordinator does, but on a slightly smaller scale. So my targeted audience is the Cherry Hill teen community. So I manage all of their marketing materials and social media accounts because I found over time that teens were only interested in teen-related information. That makes a lot of sense. So I create and specialize in disseminating information to the teen community based on what I know about them and how they consume information. But like I said earlier, many of our library staff contributes to our marketing. And aside from me and Suzanne, or whoever the PR and marketing coordinator will be at CHPL, the other staff does have access to our social media accounts so that in anyone's absence, we are all available to help as needed. This came true really during the beginning of the pandemic when we had to make announcements about the library closing, and Suzanne at the time was actually away, but luckily she taught me how to use Constant Contact. So I was then in charge of delivering all of this information, updating our website and our calendars to make sure that everybody knew that we were closing. So it is truly a team effort, even though there is really, at the Cherry Hill Library at least, we have one person who is kind of like the expert in marketing. So why do we focus so heavily on social media at the Cherry Hill Library? Well, first of all, most social media apps are free to use, which is great for us. But it also means if it's free for us, it probably means it's free for your patrons. And if your patrons are able to use it, then you should learn how to use it too. Especially if you know which platforms they're on based on like your community's information behaviors. Secondly, social media is great for instant delivery of important information. So as soon as announcements need to be made, we can rely on digital platforms to deliver library updates swiftly to as many people as possible. Thirdly, social media allows us to connect with so many people outside of the library, especially lots of different subgroups that maybe rely heavily on social media for information. Like maybe you do have people who use social media or online means of communication, but they can't come to the library that often, so they rely on your library Instagram or your library Facebook to get the information they need. Is it worth the trip all the way across town to come for a program? That social media is really great for just connecting with lots of those different subgroups within your community, as well as other librarians, other professionals, other potential partners that you could work with at the library. And lastly, libraries with active and engaging presences on social media tend to get the most clout and respect. I'm sure you've seen some really cool librarians on Instagram or TikTok who have become really popular online, and they're just delivering the good news about the library, but they've done something with their persona, with their creativity, and with their passion for libraries to reach not only people in their community, but all over the world. So behind every like and comment on something on your library's social media is a person who maybe in just one photo or 10-second video witnessed how cool or important your library services are. I know my teens, because they're so heavily influenced by what they see online or because they rely so heavily on social media, the stuff that I have to do to engage them has to be interesting. It has to catch their attention. So getting to really understand your community's information behaviors will really shape how you brand and how you deliver information online. So there are different social media platforms that you can use, and in marketing terms, they kind of vary in a couple of ways. So digital apps and such, they vary in terms of reach. So how far your content goes in terms of exposure depends on how many people or who is using the app or platform and whether or not people subscribe to or follow your account. So apps like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok have millions of users, but how many of those users are actually seeing your content and how many of them are actually local to you? Some apps, because they're popular amongst your library patrons, they require a stricter posting schedule to ensure that your account remains active and engaging. Do you think it's more important to post to Facebook or LinkedIn daily? How often should you send out library newsletters? Answers to these types of questions will impact how often you create and post content to certain platforms. Not all apps support the same kinds of content, and not all types of content get the same types of engagement. You're more likely to post good content if you have decent graphic design skills, photography skills, or video editing skills. Your social media prowess grows when more and more people engage with your content. So types of engagement include likes, comments, emoji reactions, and sharing your post with others. So I'll briefly go over some of these apps. I know that many of you probably use them already for your library. I saw that in the poll, even if there were some apps that you don't use too often, which you'll see that throughout my presentation, which ones we prioritize at the Cherry Hill Library for marketing. But Facebook and Instagram are the big hitters. They've proven to be very convenient and effective platforms for delivering library information. According to a Wikipedia article, I saw that Facebook and Instagram are like the third and fourth most visited websites in the world, and that seems to make a lot of sense, at least how we've seen it used in our community. Our Facebook page in particular is more likely to be followed by our community members, while our Instagram account may attract not only our own patrons, but loads of other people who happen to come across or discover our content. Both Facebook and Instagram offer a direct messaging option, which is great for connecting with users individually. It's really fun to direct message like famous people, like authors. That's actually how I came across one person. I decided to direct message Kate Scott, who is the play-by-play announcer for the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm a big fan of her, and I just wanted to see if she'd be interested in doing a library program. Didn't think she'd answer me, but she actually did, and that led to an email correspondence, and now I'm actually planning to have her and one of the team reporters come to the library in June to talk about sports broadcasting, specifically as a woman in the broadcasting world. So I'm really excited about that. And that wouldn't have happened if I didn't just DM her. And I took a chance and she answered. So it was really great. And I was just at a Sixers game yesterday and I was messaging her that I was at the game. Because Facebook and Instagram have been useful for promoting the library, we make sure to post something at least once a day, whether it's about an upcoming event or something cool that our staff has been doing at the library. And we keep an eye on registration for events so that we don't post about programs that are already full or have waiting list room only. I could use that time or that posting schedule to post something else that needs the extra boost for promotion. A convenient feature about Instagram is that you can cross-post directly to Facebook since these apps are connected to one another. They're both run by Meta. So you don't always have to open both apps to post the same thing. So while we are searching for our new PR coordinator, I have been taking over some of the social media responsibilities. And whenever I post something to the library Instagram, I make sure to also share it to our library Facebook so that I don't have to repost it. Something to note though is that in Instagram, in the captions, you can't have hyperlinks. So it'll usually say like, oh, register for this event through our library events calendar. But when I post it to Facebook, sometimes I'll edit the post and change that part to register at this link here, because you can put hyperlinks on Facebook. And we really like to diversify our Facebook and Instagram feeds. So we post a mixture of promotional graphics, photos, and videos. And patrons can respond to our content, as you know, with likes, comments. They can share our posts to their own accounts for others to see, and they can send us private messages as needed. Users can also save posts to view later. That also counts as like a marketing statistic when you're kind of analyzing the success of your social media accounts. And I often save Instagram posts that I would like to recreate for the library, so really useful for inspiration for future content. TikTok is more of a relaxed app for us to use at the Cherry Hill Public Library. It's definitely used for marketing purposes by different businesses, but TikTok is really known for its viral trends, sound bits, funny filters, memes, and dances. If you have the video editing skills and patience, you can definitely make some really fun and creative videos, which can also be posted to Instagram Reels. Which is Instagram's built-in version of TikTok. So again, that idea of cross-posting content without having to like, oh, I have to make this for TikTok and then I have to make this for Instagram. It's like, no, you can use the same content for both platforms. The audience for TikTok, which was actually, it's hard to believe that TikTok really didn't get big in the US until 2020 because it wasn't released in the US until then. It feels so huge, the audience. So it's really hard to tell if you're connecting directly with your local community unless like you really monitor your followers very closely and view their profiles. So we don't prioritize TikTok at the library. We do have two accounts. We have a main library account and we have a CHPL Teens account for TikTok for marketing purposes, but we don't prioritize it. It's not as important as Facebook or Instagram. So who follows us, how frequently we post, not really important. Content posted to TikTok, if you're not aware, they're really short videos. They can be from anywhere to like a couple seconds long to like 3 minutes long. But I think if you're uploading a video into the app for editing and creation, I think it can be up to 10 minutes long. And because TikTok videos are usually short, users are more likely to scroll past your videos that don't immediately interest them at like first glance. So TikTok really feeds into that whole like short attention span that people have when they're on social media because you're just constantly scrolling. So it can be hard to gain a following on something like TikTok where the audience is so huge and you can't really tell if your local patrons are actually following you. So similar to Instagram and Facebook, users can engage with your content on TikTok in a variety of ways by responding with likes, comments, and private messages. And TikTok also has a story feature like Facebook and Instagram, so you can post like updates there. And LinkedIn kind of feels like the stuffy older sibling of social media apps, kind of feels like the professional version of Facebook, right? Because everybody creates a profile, but like think about what you're actually using LinkedIn for, right? You're using it for job seeking, you're using it as a digital portfolio, a resume, to connect with other professionals and potential employers. So most people aren't really using LinkedIn to find out about our upcoming story times, our yoga events, or crafting programs. So we don't post to it too often. We might post about like a big event and show how successful it was to hopefully connect with other libraries and maybe get ideas or inspire them. CHPL, I'm sure if any of your libraries have a LinkedIn page, CHPL is not a user on LinkedIn, but a business page. So our staff can list us like as an employer, a place of employment, etc. So LinkedIn isn't super useful for marketing in terms of like trying to gain registration for programs. Sometimes it depends. Maybe you have a job searching program, a related event that you can post about on there. But like I said, story times, crafting programs, we're not really going to post about that on LinkedIn. But overall, LinkedIn is really similar to Facebook, like I mentioned, because you're creating a profile and you can like, comment, share, save posts, send private messages, tag partners. We have a period pantry at the Cherry Hill Library, which is funded and created by the Alice Paul Institute Girls Leadership Council. So I posted about that everywhere, including LinkedIn, and I tagged Alice Paul Institute as a business because we collaborated together on that project. And when you tag somebody, they're more likely to share that with other people on their own account. Okay, Threads and X. So X is the artist formerly known as Twitter, and Threads is Instagram's version of Twitter, basically. So both of these apps are micro blogging platforms. So all the content posted on here is text-based, and they're meant to be short, like conversation starters. Similar to TikTok and Instagram, user communities of both Threads and X are large and vast, used by both regular folks and celebrities alike. According to that same Wikipedia page about the top most visited websites in the world, X, I think, is the fifth most visited website in the world, which makes a lot of sense. X is kind of known for being an instant news feed for a lot of people, especially because everything's so short. They're just kind of like looking for headlines, and they're like, oh, that's the next big thing. Oh, that's the next big thing. Oh, did you hear this celebrity did this? Threads, like I said, is Instagram's counterpart of X, and it just launched in July of 2023. Because it's newer, its user community is not as big as X. And according to some marketing materials that I've read, Gen Zers are skeptical of Threads, while millennials think it could be a top social media app in the future. And I thought that was pretty interesting. At CHPL, Threads and X are not prioritized for marketing, so we post to them whenever. And Threads currently doesn't have some of the built-in features that X has. So Threads doesn't have a hashtag system for exploring content. It doesn't have filters. It doesn't have private messaging system. But both apps, users can respond to posts with likes, comments, reposts, and shares outside of the platform. So like, when you share like an interesting Twitter thread with somebody through text message, you can do the same thing with Threads. So Constant Contact is the email software that we use for delivering email newsletters and campaigns. There are different plans to choose from. I don't remember exactly how much the paid subscription is that we use, because again, my former colleague Suzanne was in charge of that. But what's great about Constant Contact or any kind of email software for delivering information is that patrons have to either subscribe to our mailing list themselves or give us permission to add them to our mailing list. This means that our newsletters are reaching people who are actually interested in our services and programs. Our general monthly e-news for the library is delivered to people's inboxes once a month, and over time that's something like Suzanne kind of figured out. So like during the pandemic, when we were closed, maybe we sent out 2 or 3 emails a month because we were only connecting with people online. But then as we started to reopen the building, we reduced it back to once a month. But in Constant Contact, we do have several targeted mailing lists that have their own delivery schedules. So for example, in the summer, I have a mailing list just for my teen summer volunteers, and I send out mini newsletters almost weekly because I always had updates and important reminders for them. Newsletters are awesome because we can compile events, include links to event registration, and reuse content we've posted to our other social media accounts like graphics and photos. When creating a newsletter, frequency of deliveries and how much content will be included, that's all important to consider. So you don't want to overwhelm subscribers with too much information, and you don't want to send emails too often because you might lose subscribers, which we've seen happen. So we try to modify our practices to meet those needs. Proofreading newsletters, though, is critical because mistakes made or found post-delivery can't be edited. So like if you have typos in a Facebook or Instagram post, most of the time you can just edit those pretty easily, or even take down the post and then repost it. But once an email is sent, as we all know, we've probably made this mistake at some point, once you send it, you have to follow up in a separate email with any corrections. Constant Contact does track how many people open your emails, how many clicks your emails receive. So like how many, like if you have any links, how many times people clicked on any of those links, how many people unsubscribed, if you have any. And Constant Contact also gives you the option of re-delivering emails that have been unopened. So whenever I send my monthly teen newsletters, I always choose the option to re-deliver that newsletter to anybody who didn't open the email like 3 or 4 days when I originally sent it. And that happens, right? Because we all get lots of emails all the time. Sometimes we miss important emails and we don't even realize it because we just get so many now. So that re-delivering option is really, really useful for us. And I did want to, let me see if I can open this link. This is an example of a marketing newsletter for the Cherry Hill Library. This is the e-news from February. And the monthly e-news is the newsletter or mailing list that we recommend to all of our patrons to sign up for because it is a compilation of library services and programs for all ages. Everything is linked, including images. So if to register for like this author visit, for example, they can click on the picture, they can click here, they can click here, always giving them the option on something to click on something. And you can see we've combined, for bigger events, we kind of add a little bit more information, like a short description. But then when we're just kind of listing events, we just put the date and time, like the important information. And then you can see teen programs are here. I do have my own teen newsletter. So when Suzanne was always considerate and asked me, hey, I'm sending out my monthly e-news. Do you want me to send it to the teens? And I'm like, no, of course not, because I have my own newsletter just for them. But it's always, again, that teamwork is really important, so that you make sure that you kind of figure out the best practices together. Like, you don't want to post things too often. You don't want to send things to the wrong people. Having at least one other person help you with that is really useful. All the children's programs are together. Sometimes we set aside programs that have multiple meetings or multiple times in the same day. You'll notice that we're very clear. We put Thursday, February 8th at this time, Thursday, February 8th at this time. We found that people need that reinforcement, need exact days and times. Get a lot of those questions just for clarity, but just to be as clear as possible. You want to just put as much detail as you can without being too overwhelming. It's a balance. That's something you work out. We will compile events that are for one monthly observance or one big event. So celebrate Black History Month, and these are the Black History Month related programs that we have. So we put them together. We partner with the Cherry Hill African American Civic Association for their annual poster contest for Cherry Hill students. And in my teen newsletter, I actually have something about a scholarship that they offer to African American Cherry Hill seniors. So I include that in my newsletter because that is relevant to teens. But yeah, this is just an example of a newsletter that Suzanne would create monthly for all ages. And then I'll also show you an example of a teen newsletter. And there are two digital platforms that nobody is required to use. These are what I just use for teens at the library. So for teens, we have a Discord server. Discord is an online social platform that supports instant messaging, photos, hyperlinks, video chat, and voice calls. A server is just one forum on Discord that can be adapted to meet the needs of its members. Our teens Discord server is invitation only. It's our virtual teen space, which means Cherry Hill teens have to email our staff to receive the invitation link. And we started our Discord server back in 2021 when I became the teen librarian, and we were still closed to the public. So like I said, the teens Discord server has really become an important virtual teen space for teens when the library is otherwise inaccessible to them. In our server, we have numerous discussion threads for different purposes. We installed bots to help us moderate conversations, engage users in games, and more. Our library staff and some volunteers are given the administrative role, so they can also moderate discussions and boot or ban members for not following our server rules. Aside from facilitating fun and informal conversations, I use the Discord server to post library announcements and share important resources just for teens, like scholarships and volunteer opportunities. And in the past, we have used our Discord server to facilitate virtual game programming like Among Us and Jackbox games. And we also have a Twitch channel, which is run by my colleague, Melissa Bryn. She is the former teen librarian and is now a part-time youth services librarian. Twitch is a video streaming platform mainly used by gamers. So Twitch streamers use webcams and screen sharing so that their viewers can see what they're actually playing, and users interact with streamers via a chat module, kind of similar to like a Zoom webinar where you, like the presenter can't see you, but you can interact with them through the chat. That is what Twitch live streaming is like. Like I said, Melissa runs our teens Twitch channel, and she live streams about once a week for about a month per season. So like right now, she's currently in her Twitch streaming series for the month of March. So she's been streaming every Thursday night from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then she takes a break for another month or two, and then she'll do one for the spring, and then she'll do one for the summer. Due to the internet capabilities needed for a successful live stream, Melissa runs her live streams from home using her own internet connection and computer equipment. And whenever Melissa goes live on Twitch, she announces her live stream on our Teens Instagram and also on our Discord server to hopefully draw in more viewers. So in marketing, a target audience is a group of people that a product, service, or marketing effort is emailed at or aimed at, emailed. Within your community, you may have smaller communities of library users who are only interested in certain programs or services you offer. So by tailoring marketing materials to these target audiences, you serve their needs appropriately and prevent them from unfollowing or unsubscribing completely. So let's use CHPL Teens as an example. The target audience I'm identifying is the Cherry Hill teen community, so grades 6 through 12, and some college students and some rising sixth graders. I know that Cherry Hill teens generally communicate with one another online via social media and email. The pandemic in particular has really elevated the importance of communicating online, especially for school purposes. And based on what I've learned of the Cherry Hill teen community, they're exposed to so much content online and at school, and anything that doesn't immediately catch their attention will be scrolled past. So if the content is not teen related or important to them, they will ignore it. So before I became the teen librarian, the Teens Instagram existed with a little less than 200 followers. When I took over our Teen Advisory Board in 2021, we evaluated our current teen marketing materials, and many of our tab members expressed their disinterest in the Instagram because content was not posted regularly, and some of the content was not teen related. They said Instagram is really useful for teens because students make accounts for all of their school clubs. And this is really good to know because I connect with all of the student organizations and clubs, and most of the time if I follow them, they follow me right back. So we support one another, and it's another great way to connect with teens, maybe who are specifically interested in certain things. And then you can figure out, okay, how can I work with this student organization that's interested in eco-friendly crafts? How can I connect with the dance club at West or the Asian Cultures Club at Cherry Hill East? Teens are used to using Instagram to find information and connect with their friends and classmates. And one of my favorite things about our Teens Instagram is that our feed is very, very colorful and lively. So it reflects the diversity of my teen community and the excitement of CHPL Teens as a brand. So this is currently what our Instagram looks like. You can see lots of color. I use a mixture of graphics and photos and videos. Some of this content is actually created by my marketing assistant, who is a teen volunteer. She had some social media marketing experience doing like for her school clubs. So when she interviewed to be a teen advisory board member, I was so impressed with what she has done as like a social media representative for her school clubs that I asked her to be my marketing assistant instead. So a lot of the content here, I honestly can't even remember if I posted it or if she did. And I asked her to post a lot in the coming weeks because I knew I'd be covering for the PR rep until like the new person starts. So I'm really proud of this feed. I love how different it is. I love that it's just very vibrant and colorful because that's what my brand is as CHPL Teens. So every brand, every library has a voice, and you want to infuse that into your branding, into your social media marketing. Tagging partners or collaborators increases awareness of your content. So our period pantry, let me see if I can find an example. Here you go. Our period pantry, I mentioned earlier, is created and funded by the Alice Paul Institute Girls Leadership Council. And by tagging their Instagram account here in the caption, and I think I also tagged them in the video, by tagging them, I've notified them about this post, and that encourages them to either engage with the post, like it or leave a comment, or share it to their own Instagram for others to see, which they did do. This is a different type of content. I was talking about how we were offering menstrual cups, and instead of just taking a picture, I created a video to make it a little bit more visually interesting. Teens are hyper aware of online trends, so it's fun to express our awareness of them in our own promotional materials. So I don't have an example here that is easily accessible, but we follow a lot of like the trends and memes that people do. Oh, here you go. put together a crystal display with me. This is like an ASMR video, so there's no background music. It's just like the background noise of like the copier and then me putting out crystals on display, and it's just like very calming and peaceful. It's a different kind of video. It's an interesting trend that was going around, that still goes around, but it's different, it's diverse, it's not like the usual post that you might see from the library. And I mentioned that I have a teen advisory board who helps me improve my marketing for the teen community, and I have a marketing assistant who helps me create content. She also proofreads all of my marketing campaigns and helps me create graphics. And I'm also hopefully teaching her a lot too in terms of marketing on a larger scale. And we also have a targeted mailing list just for teens. So let me see here. In Constant Contact, I think my mailing list for teens is just under 500, which is pretty awesome. It grew from less than 200 to almost 500 since the pandemic started. And one of the ways that I get people to join my teen mailing list is by asking about it on my event registration forms. So before I send out my monthly newsletter for teens, I always make sure to check the event registration forms from the previous month's teen programs for potential new subscribers. And just to show you what a newsletter looks like by me, I like to show my face to my audience so they know there's an actual person behind all the marketing, and they can recognize me when they come into the library. So I always start off with a message from your librarian. And similar to Suzanne's monthly newsletters, everything is linked, including images. Even if it's not to an event registration, maybe it takes them to our Instagram. And then maybe that'll get them to follow our Instagram account. Obviously, you want to promote upcoming programs, but by recapping past programs, you show readers what they missed out on, and you kind of provoke a sense of urgency to not miss out on future events. So here I've recapped some of the great crafting programs that we've had for teens, and it's kind of like, I'm hoping they see that and are like, oh, I missed that. Well, then go register for something else that we have going on. And you can see this is that scholarship that I mentioned earlier by the African American Civic Association. This is just for Cherry Hill High School seniors. This is relevant to them, so I put it in my newsletter. And I also include any upcoming college prep webinars that they might be interested in. But yeah, this is, and then I link all of our teen social media in here. So really tailored just to my teen community. Really, really great for making sure that they stay subscribed and they're getting the information that they actually want. And I did mention earlier that I do have a Discord server and a Twitch stream or Twitch channel for teens. This is on an example of what teens will see when they get the invitation to our Discord server. So before they can see anything else in the server, they have to agree to this like brief terms of agreement, which is basically a disclaimer about online safety, being respectful and kind to each other, and that staff has the right to kick anybody out as needed. And then they have to react to this message with a check mark, and then they'll be able to see all the other discussion threads. Melissa does a really great job with our Twitch. She did research how other libraries are using Twitch, and she found many librarians who play video games, but she also found some who live stream like crafting and other activities. So you can definitely like explore how to use like live streaming platforms like Twitch or YouTube. But what I like about Melissa using Twitch streaming for gaming is that it's something that our teens already understand. So we know that they're using this for video gaming. So Melissa was like, I'm going to feed into that. And she's a big fan of gaming and literacy. So this is like her baby. This is something that she's very proud of. And I'm very proud of her for growing our Twitch channel. I think we have about 68 followers right now, which is pretty cool for a library account. So some alternative marketing strategies for anybody who maybe is newer to using social media, or maybe you're just looking for other ways to improve your current marketing. If your library has newsletters, we are able to link them through Constant Contact, so link to our e-news. So we do that with our mayor's weekly briefing. So the Cherry Hill mayor delivers an email to Cherry Hill residents' inboxes every week, and our marketing coordinator would link to our monthly e-news in there so that it would contain all the information about our programs. No need to recreate a brand new post just for that short segment in that email. Our Cherry Hill Township also has a quarterly community magazine, and we always have one full page full of library events that we could create in Canva, and we send this to them. We usually use this for really big events that have a lot of registration, like big spaces, or they don't require registration at all, or we have like the book sales and other fundraisers. We will work with local publications. So we have been interviewed many times by the Cherry Hill Sun. The Cherry Hill Patch includes events coming up at the library, and also Cherry Hill Neighbors, which is a local group that shares information about what's going on in Cherry Hill. We work really closely with schools, teachers, PTAs. The head of youth services sits in on the larger zone PTA, which I think is like a combination of all the PTAs in Cherry Hill for public schools. She sits in on their meetings like once a month. So we work really closely with them to disseminate information to students and families. Just recently, I was promoting a webinar for college funding that's just for parents. So I emailed all of the media specialists in Cherry Hill and I said, hey, can you help me get word out about this? Can you share it with parents? Can you send me emails for any guidance counselors or advisors that I can send this to? And by the next day, the Cherry Hill Zone PTA created a Facebook event just for it. Suzanne also mentioned to me that she did some individual grassroots work. So as herself, she would join some local online groups kind of to see what people are saying about the library. And because some groups won't allow businesses to join, she kind of had to just come off as a really passionate person about the library. So if somebody's like, oh, I got a bunch of jewelry and stuff to donate. Does anybody want it? She could be like, oh, the Cherry Hill Library actually has a jewelry fundraiser every year if you want to donate to them. But again, she does that as herself and not as the library as an entity. We do a lot of in-house marketing, which I'm sure many of you do. We have plasma screens in the library with rotating advertisements. We also have a poster printer, and we have some poster frames throughout the building that we can put posters in for big events like fundraisers and book sales. We put banners at our welcome desk. We also put banners by the, I can actually see the entrance of the parking lot when we have a big event going on. We create compilation flyers. I mentioned this in a newsletter. Whenever there's like an observance that we have several programs that are related, we put them all together in one flyer just to kind of like minimize how much paper we're using. But we also have event flyers for adults, teens, and children. And we also have a story walk in our library backyard. And sometimes not all of the poster stands end up getting used by whatever picture book that we're sharing. So we can use the extra poster stands to fill with advertisements. So I know for the summer story walk, at the end, I usually put in a poster about joining our summer reading program. And your library website is a really great, obviously, billboard for advertisement. So this is what our homepage looks like. If we ever have a big announcement to make, like maybe the library is closing very suddenly, we can put that at the top of the page. So it's the first thing everybody sees. We have this large image rotator for notable events coming up. And we also have upcoming events right next to it. So other than what's here, they can also see what's coming up here. So what are the rewards and outcomes of an active and engaging social media presence online? Well, this is kind of a snapshot of what CHPL looked like before the pandemic. So around 1,500 followers on Instagram, 3,000 followers on Facebook. TikTok, like I said, wasn't released in the US in 2019. But then this is what we look like now, which is pretty cool. So we also not only grew in followers, but we also grew in how many different platforms that we use. This can look really overwhelming. I'm not saying you need all of these platforms to market to your community. You got to figure out what your community wants, how they communicate. And if you're going to start with anything, like I said at the very beginning of this presentation, the best ones to start with are Facebook, Instagram, and any kind of email software for newsletters. And I know according to our poll that we did at the beginning, most of you do that, which is awesome. These are some of the targeted mailing lists that we have in Constant Contact. So like I said, the monthly e-news is the one that we recommend everyone to join because it's a compilation of everything for all ages. But we do have other special newsletters just for different things that people are interested in. You don't have to be a pro when it comes to understanding the analytics of your social media accounts. You just want the numbers to always go up. And you might want to talk to your library board or your administration about whether or not collecting these statistics are useful. I know that Suzanne did collect all of these statistics, specifically how many followers we gained for different accounts and also for our mailing list. She would present that to the board once a month. Just to show our growth and also to show her, how we're connecting with people even outside of the library. And you can connect with people in such great ways that teach you a lot. So when I posted about our period pantry, somebody mentioned that they were really excited about it and they thanked us for using non-gendered language. It was a really great reminder for me to always be mindful of the language that I use when I'm promoting library programs and such. People get really nitpicky with the way you word things, and what seems like a very polite and respectful thing that you posted online suddenly comes across as rude to somebody else. So it's really helpful. I know too, I talked a lot with Suzanne, like I would have her kind of approve messages for me to make sure that I'm posting the right thing or that I'm wording it in the best way and clearest way possible. And you can also have really funny conversations with people online as well. So this person talked about how the weather outside made them want to curl up with a good book in a porta potty, but their porta potty blew away. And Suzanne responded, "Why don't you try reading an ebook since we know where you're reading it?" And her response got over 100 types of engagement from people. And then somebody else responded to her saying, "You have won the internet." So really fun ways of connecting with people outside of the library. I love those kinds of moments. But connecting with people online can also be very stressful, a little bit scary, maybe a little bit negative. If you don't already have a social media policy in place, I highly recommend that you have one to help protect the library's rights to hide comments, block users as needed. This is just a segment of our social media policy and the kinds of things that will be removed if they come up. ALA does have an article with social media guidelines for public and academic libraries if you want to use that as guidance. And something to note, two things I want to note because I know we're closing in on time here. Document all patron incidents just as you would in person. So, we do screenshot any comments from people, especially people who comment over and over again. We also seek out guidance from our library director and from our board regarding public comments. And in Cherry Hill, we do actually have access to our township solicitor, so they could offer us some guidance as well in dealing with public comments. Like I said, we document everything. These are just examples of spam, like solicited comments that were on one of our it was like a program about strength training, and you can see some comments here are like, "Oh, I struggled with this. You should message this doctor." Or for all I know, these could have been hacked accounts. I'm not sure Suzanne dealt with this one, but she screenshotted this just to kind of archive it and refer to it as needed. These are just some of my best tips and practices. I'll try to go through this a little bit swiftly. Promotional graphics should be visually appealing. Any text should be clear and concise. Like I mentioned, we've learned that our community needs dates, times, locations, registration required. They need everything. They need every little detail, but we also don't want to overwhelm them. You want to use ADA compliant fonts. You can find those online. Tag collaborators and other accounts because that will increase discoverability of your content online. Mix up hashtags that you use on Instagram and Facebook. So libraries is a huge hashtag where millions of people probably use it, but then NJ libraries might be a little bit smaller because only New Jersey libraries would use that hashtag. Don't try to strategically schedule your posts. So don't just post about a program on a random Tuesday if it's not even happening on a Tuesday. You want to create a call to action. So join us now for this program, or join us in 3 weeks for this. Sign up as soon as possible. You're again provoking kind of a sense of urgency, oh no, this is only a week away or 3 days away. I have to sign up for this now. Include hyperlinks where you can for instant registration. We use QR codes a lot for our flyers. Grow your targeted mailing list in Constant Contact or whatever software you use by inviting people to subscribe to them on registration forms for library cards or events, your website, obviously. And I actually have this in my email signature, join our Teens newsletter and they can choose the HPL Teens and subscribe right away. You can recruit marketing assistants possibly from local colleges or maybe among school volunteers. And follow for follow. That's when you follow somebody else to support them and they follow you back. Like I said, I do that a lot with local Cherry Hill groups, especially student organizations like clubs and stuff, because we're just trying to help each other gain followers, because it's a tough world out there online. But if you're proud of the work that your library is doing, you should share it online. You know, again, here you can see we tagged Fox 29 Philly because they covered our event. These are all the tags that we used. But sometimes you know that you're posting something online that no matter how wonderful, how wholesome, how positive the reaction was to the event or to whatever it is, you might get some disagreements from people. You might get feedback. You might get negative feedback, criticisms. Sometimes you have to mute responses to a post right away. That doesn't mean they can't still contact you and share their opinion some other way, but you're trying to keep your virtual spaces safe and welcoming. So again, you can talk to your library administration about this. Maybe it's written in your policies that we may turn off comments for whatever reason. Just work together with your board, with your administration to agree on these types of discussions and things as they come up. And best tip, anything with a person in it typically gets the most engagement. So people want to see moms having fun at Mom Prom. People want to see you taking advantage of the Museum Pass program at your library. People want to see you featured on other news outlets or articles or magazines. Whenever we post faces, people are like, yes, those are real people who are enjoying the library, and now I'm interested. Be creative, follow trends if you can. Some of the trends that are online aren't super complicated. They could just be simple graphics like the Little Miss series. This really was a big trend for a while, sometime last year. Barbie's really popular, so my teen marketing assistant created this Ken meme. My job, it's just books. You can have some interesting videos. This was a really cute video of administrative staff wearing prom dresses and stuff to promote Mom Prom. And this was a Summer I Turned Pretty related kind of trend video here. And I really, really, really quickly before I end wanted to highlight Suzanne's April Fool's newsletter. It's something that she started back in 2020 when we were in quarantine and everybody was getting doomsday emails. Everybody was stressed out and scared. And she just wanted to brighten people's inboxes with something funny. So on April Fool's Day in 2020, she sent out her first April Fool's newsletter where everything is fake. Somehow this stuff is still related to something at the library. So we're big fans of Philly sports down here in Cherry Hill. So she made a Jason Kelce related graphic. We have Barking Book Buddies. So this is Book Buddies Bigfoot Edition. It's a play on a program that we do. Funny museum passes, because we actually have a museum program. And if you click on it, it'll actually take you to our real museum passes. So Suzanne, the response to Suzanne's original April Fool's newsletter was so overwhelmingly positive that people were so thankful. They were like, thank you for brightening our day with that. It was a tough time. And she really just brought some joy to some people's inboxes for even a moment, and it was worth it. And you can see this is from April Fool's Day last year. So we sent this to over 14,000 emails. More than half of them actually opened the email, which is really good. There were 200 clicks, so people actually clicked on stuff in the message. We had about 1,000 bounces, so maybe emails that are no longer active, and about 10 unsubscribes. And in Constant Contact, you can click on these statistics to kind of see how your stats compare to industry standards. So now I know we just have a few minutes left, and I know I don't want to keep anybody from doing what they need to do, but this is the most dreaded part for me, which is answering any questions you may have. But I know Katie may also be here to help with any questions that you put in the chat. So Katie, please come back.
Yeah, if anyone wants to go ahead and type questions in the chat, I'd be happy to read them out to Jasmine. So let me know. I think we're not seeing me because we're still shared, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's all good. I don't need to be seen. But yeah, if anyone wants to go ahead. Okay, I'll start my video. Yeah, if anyone has a question for Jasmine, please type it in the chat or any compliments. Okay, Lana Abbott has a question. So she says, this was terrific. Thank you so much. I especially liked how you talked about following teen groups and how they may follow you. One question, do you have a template or a suggestion of items that you always use on your postings, such as Instagram or Facebook? She says, at Franklin Library, we are talking about branding / using a library logo on all postings,
Yeah.
but additionally indicating which branch the posting refers to, i.e. like Lewis Street if you have different
Oh yeah.
branches. She
Yeah,
says
that's
we've
really important.
yeah, she says we've targeted these with clear headers, dates, times, locations, logo, and developing templates on Canva. They're just colorful, like you said. Just wondering if you or anyone else here today have any suggestions this is.
Oh yeah, that's really important because here at Cherry Library, we're an independent library, so we don't have to worry too much about the different branches. But yeah, definitely including which branch, and if you have to include the address, just to be clear, you have to do that sometimes. Like on special flyers that we use for special programs, we always put, because that flyer could end up anywhere. Like maybe somebody picks up a flyer, but somehow they left it at the 7-Eleven down the street, and somebody sees it and they're like, oh, what's this? So we have to include the address to make sure that people know this is happening at the Cherry Hill Library. We also do have offsite events that happen in other places. So, for example, we have a monthly Concoctions Book Club, which is like a sci-fi, horror, speculative fiction book club for adults. Every month that happens at Mechanical Brewery and not at the library. So we always have to put on our advertising, this is not at the library. Please, no registration is required. You must be ages 21 and up, and this is offsite. And we put the address of Mechanical Brewery, and we also tag them so that they share it and say like, "Hey, this is sponsored by the library, but it's happening here." Yeah, that has to be super clear. I agree, but maybe other people who have come from libraries with multiple branches might be able to share some tips on how they diversify the branding for each branch, because obviously it's one brand, but there's like sub brands. That's a really good question.
Yeah. And the next question is, which is making me laugh right now. Isabel Castro asks, so Facebook is cool again?
Apparently, I'm not as much of a Facebook expert as other people in the building because I quit using Facebook when I went into college back in 2011 because I was like, oh my gosh, I made this when I was a teenager. I can't have this going into college and like connecting with professors and stuff. It's very unprofessional. So I deactivated my Facebook. But then I came back on a couple of years ago so that I could become an administrative user for the library. So apparently it is pretty cool. There are so many online Facebook groups. People always talk about like, what's up Cherry Hill or Cherry Hill Moms and stuff like that. And Suzanne would actually join some of those groups as herself so that she could see like, if there's any way she can chime in about the library and stuff. So yeah, I guess it's cool. I will say that it's useful.
I agree. I think it's actually gotten better. So Sarah says next, so the advice used to be that you include some outside the library content, but it seemed to keep it mostly CHPL based. Do you think this is better now?
Like, do you mean is it? Oh, sorry, I thought somebody was.
Do you want me to reread it?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, she said the advice used to be that you include some outside the library content, but it seems mostly you
Okay.
keep it based around your library. Do you think this is better now? I think she's just saying that, like, used to be you try to include like some outside of the library content.
Yeah, we mostly keep it. We always try to bring it back to the library. So
Mhm.
like if you post like a funny meme, um like the Ken meme, like you're showing that, oh, we're aware about Barbie and stuff like that, but then maybe we bring it back in somehow. It's like, is our library, it's like I don't know, maybe the caption could say something like, yeah, is our library job really is our job just books? It's actually, we have a lot more. We always try to bring it back to the library somehow, even if we post something outside about the library. I do sometimes post content about things that are maybe relevant to teens that's not necessarily sponsored by the library, but I know that it's information that they're looking for. But we do usually try to bring it back to the library. We always try to increase the usage of our services. So just kind of like bring it, like being funny and being out there, but also bringing it back home, if that makes
Hey,
sense.
Sarah, did you want to go ahead and unmute then? If you had anything else you wanted to clarify or ask Jasmine?
Just real quick, sorry. It's always
No,
me
okay.
monopolizing the conversation. Um, I just, like it used to be like share links about books or share things in your community, which I do a little bit of, but like I noticed that that wasn't in your advice, which I thought was a good thing because I'm like, I don't want to confuse
Hmm.
our patrons by like posting something that's not really relevant to the library.
Right.
Right? So like I would think that now because everything's so individualized, that's why you would want to
Yes.
like, yeah.
Yeah, our intention is to always bring it back to the library. That's why everything is PHPL based. I can understand that it's like, oh, this is going on out there and it might be interesting to them, but we really try to bring it back to us. So even if I promote something about like, oh, there's this really great webinar about um how to plan for college. Did you know we also have an SAT prep and college prep collection in
Sure.
the teams department? Yeah, we always bring it back.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for your question.
And then next we're just people singing your praises.
That's so nice.
John just says no question, just positive feedback about the
Thank you.
presentation and great ideas on how to on innovative ways to use each platform differently. And Lena says this is very helpful about the brewery book clubs. And
Okay.
the next question is Christy asked, do you have any advice about using memes appropriately and the that the library should take?
Yeah, we do. Suzanne was really good at kind of modifying the voice of certain things. So I remember back in quarantine, she did this one post that went viral. She took a picture of that character from what is the movie with Viola Davis and You is Good, You is Important. What is the movie?
Oh gosh, I know what
The
you're
Help.
talking about too. The Help,
The Help.
yes.
So Suzanne did a post. I don't know if I can find it, but it's the character holding the pie made out of her own feces. And she took that picture and said something like the 2020 in a pie or something like that. And it like went viral. And obviously in that movie, they refer to that pie being made out of something, out of a word that's not appropriate to say in a professional setting, but like it's kind of modifying it to make it appropriate for you for all ages. Sort of like turning potty humor into something still kind of wholesome. There's definitely a way to do that. And that's when kind of talking to multiple people, it's like, hey, do you think this could be misconstrued a certain way? Like, do you think this is okay? I will sometimes, if Suzanne was not available, I'd ask my director, I'd ask our HR person, like, does this seem appropriate? Sometimes it does help to get approval first. But over time, I kind of learned how to use my judgment um, more critically.
Yeah. So she also followed that up with a similar question. She said, same question about using the trend of using videos and famous characters with static backgrounds. Is there a copyright issues with these memes and videos, like how you did use the Ken
Right.
image?
I haven't had those kinds of issues. I found, I'm not going to lie, I've seen other libraries do it, and I'm like, if another library can do it, surely I can do it as well. I know that our team's Instagram and also our library Instagram are listed as business accounts, which means that we don't have access to certain songs. Like, you know how you can attach sound to reels or to posts and stuff like that? Like the music that I can access through my personal Instagram, I can't access through the library Instagram. So in a way, those apps kind of build in ways that you already are like can't infringe on certain things. But for the most part, we haven't run into any issues with that. Sometimes you might get a notification from Instagram or TikTok that will say like your video is using like third-party content or something, so it's blocked in China or Australia or something like that. And I'm kind of like, okay.
Like not your
um,
demographic anyway.
exactly.
Okay, and just the last question that we have for today, because I don't want to keep Jasmine too much longer, but thank you for staying a little bit longer.
Thank you.
So the last question is, do you have any open access resources or fair use copyright tips towards creating and sharing content freely?
Oh, that's a really good question. Oh, you asking the hard questions.
The hardest for last.
Yes. Do you have any open access resources or fair use copyright tips towards creating and sharing content freely? I don't, and honestly, that's okay because maybe other people have better ideas than I do. When I do try to use like when I'm creating graphics, I really do try to use like free like stock photos and stuff. Like I use that filter on Google for like stock photos without like copyright infringement things and such like that to help me create graphics. We do have a Canva Pro account, so we know that anything that's available through there, we're able to use without any issues in terms of like copyright and stuff like that. But that's a really good question and I apologize that I don't have the best answer for it, but it's possible that somebody else does.
You know, I just want to piggyback onto her. Like, if you want to go ahead and like find some images you can use, I found Pixabay to be incredibly helpful.
Oh,
Not
okay.
only do they have like free images, they also have free sounds, free videos that you can pile on. Like, it's honestly easy to edit and help out. So I would recommend that as well. Okay, and not taking up too much time, do you have like time for the last question
Oh
there
yeah, it's
or?
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so this question is, do you advise to create a teen volunteer group to source the Instagram or TikTok account? In case one is a librarian, it would be more difficult, in case one is a librarian, that it would be more difficult to add more to our ever increasing workload.
Yes.
Guidelines or rules for teens creating content for the library account.
So I do have my teen marketing assistant kind of knows to follow all of like my guidelines. She goes through kind of like my previous posts before she started being my marketing assistant to kind of see how I tailored my posts, how I put our logos on, how I did our captions, what hashtags I used and stuff like that. And she always knows to approve them, get them approved by me first if she's really unsure. For the most part, I trust her judgment because I interviewed her as like a teen advisory board member. So I kind of know where she's coming from and kind of just like her judgment. I have an idea of like her critical thinking in general. But my teen advisory board sometimes does tab takeovers on the Instagram, so they know to like stay appropriate, still use respectful language online. Yeah, we set those guidelines. We talk about that together and we agree on those things. And they always, like I said, always get things approved by me first. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, what was the other thing? I can't remember. But yes, they do have to get stuff approved generally first before they can post anything on our account.
Right, and obviously you guys have a social media guidelines and everything, so you would know, like, I'm sure you would send it to your teen volunteer
Yeah,
before,
I'm like, oh, this
like, they
is
would
what our
start creating
policy looks like,
graphics.
just so you know. Yeah.
Okay, and now everyone's singing your praises. Genesis, thank you so much.
You're
Johnson's
all
great
so kind.
presentation. Thank you so. Now just feel all the praise going through because now it's a
Thank
lot of thank
you. Thank
yous.
you so
Yes,
much.
and I
I
just want to
know
thank
I'm
Jasmine
such a
for doing
chatterbox.
this. You guys don't know also how much like we've changed in this presentation. We had an original speaker who unfortunately had to drop out. Then we got Suzanne and Jasmine, and then
And then
Susan had the
Suzanne
capacity
left.
to get a better job.
The show
No,
must
not
go
a better job,
on.
but a different job.
Thank you so
It's
much,
great that you were
everyone.
still willing. Yes, thank you so much for still willing to stay on and do this.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for keeping me, despite not having the actual marketing expertise be here. But I've learned a lot in my time in working with her, and she still teaches me a lot. I'm still very good friends with her, and I can ask her for advice. If you have any questions for me, you are always welcome to reach me through the Teens Instagram. Give me a follow, and I'll follow you back. You can also send me an email if you need anything. I'm always happy to help, and I'm just so thankful for everybody who came today. And thank you, Katie, for all of your assistance and guidance in putting this presentation together.
Anytime, you know, you know
Oh,
that.
you're welcome.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And just another reminder, I will be sending out a survey because we are looking to create different programming outside of the NJLA conference. So if there's anything you guys want going forward in the future, please let us know and the committee will review it and see what we can help offer for you guys because this is something we've been really wanting to improve on. And before we end, Jasmine, do you want to type in your email as well into the chat in
I
case anyone wants to reach out to you?
will. Yes, I will put in my email. I can't put in Suzanne's because she left us, like I said. But here is
Yes.
mine, and I'm happy to help you with anything that I possibly can. I'll do
Yes.
my best. I will do my best.
Elena, thank you so much. If you have any questions about the Professional Development Committee, feel free to let me know. I will type in my email into the chat as well. But yes, I want to do that.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everybody, for today, and look out for that survey. And Jasmine, thank you again for this. This was
Oh, thank
awesome.
you, Katie. Thank you for everything. Appreciate it, and
Yeah.
all my crazy emails.
Anytime, as you know, I'm the same way.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.